Hi, boys and girls. Here is session 12. And the title of this session is Using Vocabulary Strategies to Figure Out Unfamiliar Words. So I've noticed that some of you play Minecraft and you know a lot of words that I probably wouldn't expect you to. And often there are words that are used a lot in the game, so you just get to know what they mean. And I realized that playing video games and picking up vocabulary from video games is not very different than learning and using new vocabulary words from fantasy books. So, just as in video games, some of the language in your fantasy books are made up for books. And here's two examples that I have. A mudblood. That's what Hermione is. It means she's non magical parents, but yet she can do magic. And then we have a thestral, which is an animal that you can see if you've experienced death. And Luna and Harry were able to see that. So today I want to teach you that very specific vocabulary plays an important role in everything you read, especially in fantasy novels. You need to pay close attention to words that are new to you, figuring out what those words mean by using your whole toolkit of vocabulary strategies. Okay, here is a really big post-it note. Okay. Running across challenging vocabulary words in fantasy is common, but it can be intimidating. So I want to remind you that sometimes one strategy might work, but another one won't. Or sometimes you might need more than one strategy at one time to figure out a word. So today we're going to look at a poem written by Lewis Carroll, who is the author of Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. It's written in a sort of a nonsense language, but if you're a careful reader, you can probably figure out what the words mean. Okay. The poem will make very little sense because of the vocabulary. So let me pull that out. So here's the poem, and it's titled Jabberwocky. Let me zoom in just a little bit for you, maybe, maybe not. Okay. It's looking like not. Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwocky, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the maxome foe he sought. So rested he by the Tumtum tree, and stood awhile in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffing through the Tugly wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker snack. He left the dead, and with its head he went galloping back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, Frabjoy, stay! Callooh, Calais! He chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the silthy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrave. Wow. That's really hard to understand unless I break it down. Since it starts with the word 'twas, and I know that stories can start that way, I'm thinking this is the beginning of a story. And I know the words did and in and were. So if I use those words and rely on my envisioning skills, I think I can tell that a brillig is either a time or a season. And a slithy tove or some sort of creature that does something or maybe moves in some special way. I'm thinking that gyre and gimble kind of sound like moving words. I feel like these last two lines, mimsy, where the borogroves and the mome raths outgrabe, are probably creatures doing something. I could substitute words that make sense to help. Let's see, like flimsy for mimsy. They kind of sound alike. And borogroves sort of sound like butterfly or a bird. So all flimsy were the butterflies. Well, that could work. And the mome raths kind of seems like another kind of animal doing something, maybe running or screeching. So all that you saw that I was trying to do today, I was using different tools from my toolkit. And here is my toolkit. Remember I told you like one might work or two might work, but they may not work exactly for the same. So we've got here, as fantasy readers, use your toolkit of strategies to tackle unfamiliar words. Use what you know about a root word. Look for a word or part of it that's familiar. Envision what's happening in the scene. Tap into what you already know how this genre tends to work. Read forward. Keep reading and get a bigger sense of what's happening, then circle back when things start to click. Try a substitute word that might fit. Harvey half devoured. Use a reference like a dictionary or an internet search or ask a friend. Get the gist of the meaning and then look for that more precision later. You've been doing such a great job of reading a lot. Some of you have started your third, fourth, fifth fantasy novel. I want to remind you just to be sure that you carry all that you've learned and practice doing in one book into the next book. You might also consider carrying any themes or other ideas from one text to another. Please don't forget the goals that you set in lesson 10, which was last Thursday and Monday as you're reading. Also, you've got your status of the class. As you're coming across words in your book, if you could just make a list on session 12 of things that are not normal words that people don't normally use. Okay. I also put a fun little book down at the bottom in the extension, and it uses a whole lot of nonsensical words to see if you can figure out what it means. All right, boys and girls, I miss hearing you turn and talk, but soon. Take care.